Behind every wall, every pipe, every outlet, there's a story about your home's safety. A home inspection isn't just paperwork. It's your first line of defense against hidden costs. Join us at the My Path to Safe Housing initiative to help you better navigate safe housing practices.
My name is David Londergran. I'm from Patriot Home Inspectors. I have a business partner. His name is Warren Loans. Between the two of us, we are Patriot Home Inspectors. We've been in the industry since 2018 or so. I was in construction for many, many years before that. And that is my background there as far as home inspections is concerned.
Excellent. And what are the most common things that you're finding a lot of homeowners are contacting you? Is it primarily homeowners that primarily contact you, or who do you see reaches out to you the most?
It would be prospective home buyers. So they've just gotten an agreement signed so that they're going to be buying this house, and they want to know what the house looks like, and so they call the home inspector so that we can give them kind of an eyes wide open of what it is that they're looking at buying.
That's awesome. So what kind of entails in terms of like the process of the home inspection overall?
The home inspection, I mean, let me ask you, what do you mean? Are you looking about the specific things that we're looking at in the home inspection?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's multiple aspects to the house, of course. There's going to be the roof and the attic, the exterior, and then we're going to have the electrical system, plumbing systems, water heater, heating systems, foundation, structural issues, all of that stuff. And then there's going to be a myriad of like interior sections like windows, stairs, railings, floors, ceilings, walls, those kind of things.
So it's actually quite comprehensive. It's not just as simple as just walking through the house. There's actually way more to it than I initially thought.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. Yes, yeah. No, the short answer is yes. The short answer is there's a lot to it. At this point, for us, it's all automatic, right? So we walk into the room, and our eyes naturally go to the things that we're looking to get to, and if anything is off, that's what shows up in the report.
So that part of your training is what's kind of trained you to be able to do that, right? You kind of already know, hey, these are the problem areas that I should be looking out for, especially in the area that you're in or the type of the home that you're looking at. There's certain homes that have common symptoms, if you will, right? So what would you say to a homeowner that's considering buying a home that was built in the early 1900s? You know, a lot of homes in Massachusetts are older homes. So
Yes.
a home that was built in the early 1900s has that original stone foundation.
Yep.
And, you know, there hasn't been a ton of upgrades to the home. The original owners of the property kind of preserved its look. What are common things that you're looking at a property like that as compared to like maybe a brand new construction?
Oh, that's a very, very fair question. It's really the biggest thing there is giving the prospective home buyer proper perspective of what they're looking at. If they want a house that was built in 1900, if they're looking at buying a house from 1900 and they're expecting that house to match up to a house that was built in 1998, that's not fair to that house. All right, so you got to give that buyer a proper perspective of what they're looking at. I'll give you an example. Just the electrical alone. The style of electrical that they would have used back then wouldn't even have a ground wire. Okay, so if you look at the plugs that you have in the walls or the receptacles, as the case may be, those older ones will have just the two slots, and it won't have that third one that's got the round hole in it. That would be the ground. There's a couple of styles of older wiring that had that, and if you were not prepared for that, that's something that you should need to know.
That's actually a really great example, because this home actually that we're in used to have knob and tube wiring, and it actually disqualified the home from being able to do programs like Mass Save.
Yep.
Because of exposure, potential electrical issues. What would you say to a homeowner that doesn't quite understand that? Because they're looking to buy a home, they see it as a fixer upper, so they see that on paper the home may cost $100,000 to $200,000 less, not realizing that when they buy that home, if they want to do some of the major upgrades to the home, maybe adding a kitchen or a bathroom, which are very common, that might trigger electrical codes, right?
Yeah. Well, if you've ever done any kind of a repair, any kind of a project in your house, it's very common. I used to be in the trades, like I said. You open up a wall, and then you find other things, and then you find other things, and before you know it, you've got half the floor ripped apart because you have electrical that needs to be changed out, or there's not fire blocking and it's balloon construction, or on and on and on. There's a number of things that you can come across.
So the home inspection is actually one of the most important things that can happen before you buy a property. It's not just as simple as having a good school in the area or having a good area. The home inspection itself can potentially save you from tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands, right?
There's foundation issues with pyrrhotite. You can do your homework on pyrrhotite. The crumbling foundations. Those are
What is
major.
pyrrhotite?
Pyrrhotite is they have in the I want to say in the 1980s, mid 1980s, they started using an aggregate for the concrete for the poured foundations that had iron pyrite in it, and that iron, when it's exposed to oxygen, will rust, and when it does, it will expand, it will push. And what happens is that aggregate, they had so much of that aggregate in the concrete that as it rusted, it just ripped apart the foundations. So the very thing that you need, that the house is sitting on top of, was failing. And then they found it was a systemic issue. It wasn't just a couple of houses. There's large swaths of Connecticut and Massachusetts in certain time frames that we're looking for it. I don't even want to mention it unless it becomes a thing, because it freaks people out unnecessarily. But I'm always looking for signs of those pyrrhotite foundations.
That I would have never even known that, and you could potentially end up buying a home that needs a whole new foundation, right?
Yes,
Wow.
that could be hundreds. That could be hundreds of thousands.
Well, hopefully we don't need one here.
How about this is another one. Say you had an oil tank that was buried underground and it was leaking. That could become an EPA nightmare. Now we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh wow!
Because it's a brown field, and they need to. They'll actually rip out all of the dirt that's been soiled,
Contaminated.
Contaminated. That's a better word. Contaminated with oil, or if you had a failed oil tank, and now the whole concrete or dirt in the underneath the house, that all has to get ripped out, and so on and so forth. And that can cost an awful lot of money. It can get into the aquifer. It can cause water issues, especially if people on wells, whole neighborhood. Yeah, it can cost a lot of money.
Oh wow! Okay, so the idea behind a proper home inspection, it's not just informational, right? Like you're trying to really help set a realistic expectation of what it's going to take to live in this property, right?
Yes.
Well, kind of go into a little bit more about setting expectations. Like one of the biggest challenges that you're seeing currently in the trades with homeowners that are just hiring home inspectors, thinking that they're all the same. What would be something that you would share on that, as far as like the expectations and stuff that homeowners should really expect?
Okay, that's a great thing. So a lot of people are under the impression, I go back to when I had my home inspection done. I was not a home inspector back in the 90s. Okay, as an example, and I was under the impression that my home inspector was the equivalent of an electrician, plumber, HVAC, roofer, carpenter, landscape. I thought he was all of those guys, and that is not the case. What a home inspector is we are generalists in all of those things. So think of us as almost like an apprentice electrician, apprentice plumber, apprentice HVAC. It's not an exact equivalent, but we know enough about these things to know if something's wrong. We don't necessarily know how to fix it. Some of these guys do. Some of these guys were electricians before they were home inspections. Some of these guys were carpenters before they were. But in all of these cases, nobody was an electrician, plumber, carpenter, HVAC. Right. So we have a limited knowledge base. So a home inspector is designed to be able to catch the issues, not necessarily fix the issues. We don't necessarily have to know how these things get fixed, or even capable of fixing.
So when a homeowner is doing their due diligence and is in the process of doing online research, which is where most places people go first now, is online, and they're basing it on how nice the website is, or maybe some of their reviews, What are some of the things that are even more critical than that a homeowner should consider before hiring a home inspector as an expert to come to their home?
I don't know. I think those reviews are really, really kind of relevant. Some of the things are very intangible, unfortunately. For us at Patriot Home Inspectors, our what we'll call bedside manner is one of the more critical things. When I first became a home inspector, was not anticipating. I became a psychiatrist whether I wanted to be or not, and it's because I wanted to be able to meet the customers where they were. I don't know how you would get that information to somebody other than a 5-star rating, multiple 5-star ratings, and so on and so forth. That seems to be the best. We do have a lot of agents that will hand out our business cards as they're allowed to do, as long as they're passing out 3 or 4, and so on and so forth. So we do see a lot of the same real estates over and over again.
Okay, so you like realtors and people in trades will refer you guys.
Absolutely.
Very commonly, which is a testament to your work, right? Now, for a homeowner who is now in the process of buying the home and they're now getting the home inspection done on their home and they're getting ready to make the final decision, and you've identified some critical areas in the home. What do they do with that information? Like, what information are they gathering or going to have to make an informed decision?
Great question, and this is where perspective comes in.
Okay.
So, like, what I will typically tell customers, and when we get to a house that was built in the 1900s, I says, chances are, I'm like, I haven't seen anything. I haven't walked into the house. I don't know anything. I'm gonna look like a fortune teller. It's not the case. It's usually maybe 1, 2, or 3 bigger things that you need to know that they haven't gotten to in this house. Maybe the roof has less than 5 years on it. Maybe the electrical system really hasn't been upgraded since the house was either built or in the last 70 years.
Right.
Or maybe there's systemically rusty plumbing or older styles of plumbing, or the homeowner or Uncle Frank has come in and done some repairs that are just not correct, or they built the deck on their own and they really didn't know what they were doing, something along those lines.
Interesting. So those are all really interesting perspectives because those are realities, right? And people do have friends and family that come and help.
Right.
Now, are there currently? I mean, over the last couple of years, I've been seeing that the energy codes have been changing a lot. The building codes have been changing a lot. Is that happening the same way in the home inspection field?
No, and it's kind of a critical point of information that we are not code enforcers.
Okay.
Also, when you think of code enforcement, you're thinking, oh, is this going to pass the inspection where they sign off it and then they give you an occupancy permit? And that's not what we do. What we do is we let you know what you're buying, what that house looks like in real terms. Because you have the real estate come in, it's like, can't you see your kids living in here? It's going to be wonderful. Look at,
right.
You can see the TV, and it's their job. It is their job. They're a salesperson, right? But we're the realists. We're the ones that come in and we do the nuts and bolts. Okay, these are the things you need to know. This is an older roof, all right. So you just prepare yourself that maybe 5 years from now you might have a necessity of having this changed out. Ask the question.
Right.
It's like, what is that though? I don't want to ask him what that is. He's just going to think I'm a moron. I don't care. I glean as much information as you can from me while I'm here.
So when going through the walkthrough process, sort of walk me through your psychology of where the process begins. Do you begin in the driveway? Do you begin inside the home? Like, sort of walk me through what a homeowner should expect when working with you.
So we usually get to the house about half an hour before the customers do. What we try to do is get through the outside of the house before the buyers get there. But once the buyers get there, that's where we want to kind of set a precedence of communications with the customers. First thing I usually ask them after I introduce myself is, what's your anxiety levels? On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you? Are you a 5, which is where I like to see my customers? I want to see about a 5, because at a 5, they're not so they don't care so much that they could miss something. But I also don't want them at a 10 so that we're going to the hospital right after the home inspection because they have such anxiety over what's going on. They're walking in the door with one foot ready to run. That's not a proper perspective. You know, a 5 or a 6 is where I'd like to see my customers. So I try to gauge that for them. I'm not the best person at gauging emotions, so I just straight up ask them.
Yeah.
So I know where their anxiety levels are, and then they can work with them right where they are.
That's awesome. I actually really like the way you phrased it, and it's very human, right? In a world that we feel so detached from it, right? You know, unfortunately, we've come to a place, especially with the contracting world, that it's very contractual. It's like our contract says it has to be this way, and you're bringing in that human element and making sure, kind of getting a pulse of where they're at, and making sure that you can kind of cater, you know, any feedback or responses to their specific needs.
Yes.
On there. So very very quickly before we go outside, when we're now beginning the stages of going into the inside of the home and kind of walking through the major systems of the home, are you taking into consideration, like, if the previous homeowner might have cut corners on stuff and might maybe tried to hide stuff? Is that something that comes up a lot?
Yes. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I got one for that. So this shows up on almost all home inspections unless it's brand new. And we try to explain the concept of Uncle Frank. And Uncle Frank is that guy with a set of tools and a can-do attitude. He has no license for anything and has no business doing any work because he doesn't know what he's doing. However, that doesn't stop him because beer exists, and he feels like he can conquer the world if he's got a few beers in him, and it doesn't mean he knows what he's doing or he's going to do it right. He will also do things like he will copy what was there because he thinks that's how it's supposed to be done, not knowing that code has changed and that we don't do those types of plumbing traps anymore, or you know, a lot of things have changed since then, and we don't do it that way. We don't build decks that way anymore. That kind of a thing.
So, wow, I mean, there's a way more to this than I thought, and I think that for viewers that are watching this, I hope that they're starting to get like a bigger picture of what the home inspection really is, because it's not just a quick walkthrough. It's like you're really actually grounding them on like what's really going on at the current present condition of the home on there. So I'm really looking forward to the next phase of this conversation, and actually going outside, walking around the home, and actually noticing anything that you may notice about this property that we can maybe give other homeowners advice on if they're noticing anything, and just general conversation of what you might look out for when you're actually visiting another property as well too.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.